We'll be going live in just a second. We are just setting some things up for a special guest live in the studio tonight. So give us just another minute and we'll get things going. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to Do Fools Agree. I am your host, Michael Reggie. I'm here, of course, with my ongoing co-host, Mr. Clifford Jennings. How you doing
Hello,
tonight,
hello.
Cliff?
I'm all right. I'm all right. We got a guest in the building, I see.
Yes, we do. My own blood, the one and only,
My-
Nate Reggie.
My biological cousin.
Biological?
Is that a thing?
I
Biological
mean,
cousins? I know
biological would mean there's blood relation there.
That's
so
my biological cousin.
Yeah, thank
Is there
you. Thank you
blood
for asking.
relations with cousins,
That's
right?
biological. Biological implies blood relation.
Yeah.
But cousins have blood relations.
Yes, they do.
yeah.
So that's
At
my
least half.
biological cousin.
All
What are you
right, all
talking
right,
about?
all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about the last name is Reggie. That would be my biological cousin.
That throws things off. Well, the Reggie's silent on mine.
Oh, is it just silent?
That's
it's
what
silent.
people don't understand.
I hear you.
Silent Reggie.
I mean, man, I'll tell you what. So sorry we're running a little late tonight, folks. We had a little bit extra to do to get another mic set up, other camera set up, all that good stuff. And then, I give him grief about it all the time. Of course, Cliff was running a little late, but we're all good.
Hell.
We're all good. We're all good. I'm not going to sweat it too much. But, man, how's your week been?
It's been a week. Monday, Tuesday.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, huh?
Even those. Went through all of them. I made it here. I see everyone else has as well.
That's true. We're all here. Nate's here all the way from Buffalo. Yeah, you're here all the way from
James
the other side of 270. I don't know. It's not even the other side of 270. I don't understand.
Listen, things happen.
I get it. All right, man. What's going on? You got any inadvertent thoughts of the week to kind of get us going while I make sure the live stream chat's up and running?
I do actually, and listen, and I may be showing my age here. Can you put videos on Twitter?
Yes, you can.
Okay, found that out. Secondly, can you put a video from Facebook to Twitter?
Yeah, yes, you can.
All right. Inadvertent thought of the week, ladies and gentlemen. And it's an interesting one. So I was scrolling through Facebook, good friend of mine. I will not name any names because I am no snitch, first and foremost. But he posted a video. The video was about internal monologue and people who don't have that. Now, apparently, 1 in 3 people do not have an internal monologue, meaning they have no voice in their head that they can speak through silently. So what happens is they usually end up saying their thoughts out loud.
Okay, this is pretty strange.
Exactly. And see, it's crazy. There's a video to it, and if possible, I would like my good friend Mike to assist me in getting that up to the Twitter for anyone who would like to see it.
Are you actually on Twitter now? Is that how this works?
Well, if you were here last episode, you knew that I was on Twitter.
So here's the thing, though, is that I went to add you today to the post, my post on Twitter, and your username changed again back to Cliff bunch of numbers.
Oh, no, it didn't?
It did.
It didn't. I think you got the wrong guy.
That's funny because it's definitely your picture.
I mean, I tried twice.
Tried a whole 2 times, huh? It's all good.
No, I'm saying there may be 2 different accounts for me.
There may be or there is?
I don't know. Still haven't figured out how to use it quite yet.
That I believe because I don't know that I've seen anything posted on it. So
don't follow 1L too close, no E, sir. So you must be looking at the account I tried first and couldn't change the name on, so I created a new account not knowing I could change the name in the settings.
Oh.
That's how that works.
But I tried to do it to don't follow too close, and it wasn't there anymore. So I don't know what you did.
I must have deactivated my account, ladies and gentlemen.
Must have done something.
I don't know. But nonetheless, internal monologue.
Do you have an internal monologue?
Listen, let me tell you something. If I didn't have an internal monologue, I'd probably be dead or in jail. Let me put it that way. Because if I told everybody what was on my mind at all times, they'd probably they'd commit me. They'd put me in a crazy house, padded room, straight jacket type stuff.
The 9s, huh?
Listen, I'm just saying. have to have an internal monologue. It's actually funny on Facebook under the comments. One of the people actually put, if I didn't have an internal monologue, I'd be fired from every job I had. And that's the honest to God truth. Like, it sounds like a joke, but if you said your thoughts out loud, that's like some what women want type shit.
It is, but you know what else has that power? The mute button on conference calls. Because I can't tell you, this week alone, I had 4 or 5 different meetings where I put the conference call on mute, and all I could say was, this motherfucker doesn't know what they're doing, and it's driving me crazy.
Maybe I don't have an internal monologue.
No, but
'Cause
it's the
I
voice.
say
It's
that
the voice,
shit.
though, right? And you
Right.
hear that.
You're right.
So you
But-
got it.
I mean, then
Right?
maybe I just want people to know what I'm thinking sometimes. Because I don't, sometimes I just don't mute it. Like, you just clearly don't know what you're talking about, huh?
Right. But it's okay to let your inner monologue come out as long as you put it on mute first, right?
Play it once
Right.
and then let it out.
I might be doing that. I may or may not be doing that. You may just be getting it live, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe. I mean, I kind of feel like this entire show is an internal monologue, like,
Yeah.
because there's definitely points where you and I aren't doing a whole lot of thinking between our words and
So
what
I
comes
have
out.
an internal monologue, and I just must ignore it
Just
or
turn
not
it
use
off.
it.
I think that's okay.
I'm
Sometimes.
rapid fire. Listen, I like to live life on the clock, like a chess game. If we're practicing our moves, then you're not telling me who you are, really. You know what I mean?
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
I don't want you to have time to think. Give it to me. Give it to me now.
Right. I want that honest opinion.
And
That
then
goes
I'll
back.
know-
I
then I'll
mean,
know
that goes
who you
back
are.
to some of our previous conversations. Like, let me know who you really are.
Right. Right.
Uh,
So, moral of the story.
Good story.
Good story. Good story. Yeah.
So, my inadvertent thought of the week is, it's not really an inadvertent thought. It's a little bit of a confession.
Oh shit.
So, you know, we've had this foolproofentertainment@gmail.com email address for a long time. Like, since we kind of had studio set up back in, I don't know, 2009, 2010. And while trying to get all of our shows uploaded to all the different podcasts, which, by the way, you can check us out now on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts,
shit.
Spotify, pretty much any of the major vendors. Thank you to Anchor.fm for the free hosting, because that's what they do.
Oh shit.
And depending where you listen to this, you might get an ad in front of it, and maybe we can make a couple cents here and there. But yeah, we're now available on Apple Podcast, all that stuff. So give us a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But buried in that email chain, in my
Is it porn?
it wasn't porn. Never used this email for porn. I have a separate account for that.
I know. Okay.
There was an email from some overseas labels about 1 or 2 songs that we produced back in the day. And unfortunately, those emails were from 2016.
What were they asking?
They wanted to be able to play Bandcamp and I think one other song on like Swedish radio.
Oh man.
Are you serious?
I am serious, and I feel really bad about it, because if you know me,
You better contact them, y'all.
2015 was when my son was born, and these emails apparently came in like January of 2016. So, like I said, this isn't really a inadvertent thought. It's more of a confession that
Well, listen.
I dropped the ball, because this was not an active email account there for a while, and I can send you their contact information, but I don't know that they even still work at those said stations. So this is real world stuff that just happened and Cliff is processing right now because it was his music that we got contacted about. So I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm glad to hear
Listen,
that.
it's okay. It happened the way it's supposed to. But what I will say is if you had the email to contact back then and you just so happen to be watching, contact me, Yas.
Yes. I mean, the good
I was
news
gonna
is
say.
that I did use the old 150 proof page to promote this because we still had because people don't clean up their the pages that they like.
Right.
We still had 160 fans sitting on the old 150 proof page.
Okay.
So I used that to market this. But
Okay. Well,
I just had to come clean about that. It was bothering me because I figured it out about 2 days ago when I was trying to get the podcast stuff up and running. So
listen. I heard Sweden was beautiful. Is all I'm saying.
well, I'll give you their information and maybe you could reach out to them and we'll see what happens. I mean, the other side of it is, are you still in contact with our producer? Are you still talk to Spence and all them?
Of course I do.
'Cause I haven't heard from Aaron in a decade now.
Is that
so
right? Is that right? He was just here not too long ago. Now that I think about it.
why isn't he on the show? Or was it longer ago than that?
Yeah, I think it was Christmas time.
All right. Well, that's
He
not
was
bad.
Here seeing his mom.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's a good deal. All right, we got any other inadvertent thoughts? Nate, you got anything you wanna chime in here?
You know, I might actually have something. I'm not exactly sure if this qualifies for your inadvertent thoughts.
Oh, it
but
all
I'll
qualifies.
give it a go. I'll give it a go here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Mike said earlier, I'm from Buffalo and had to drive out today, and there was snow coming down on the whole way out, and I was still driving pretty aggressive. You know, I usually do when it's in the snow.
And he's from Buffalo, so I can
Right,
trust
right.
him
I'm
to
used
do
to
it.
it.
Right.
I'm used to it. I ski. I've driven through like blizzards to go skiing. I'm like, I can handle this. So
Right.
I do drive a little aggressive, but then I saw a couple of cars in a ditch, and I kind of thought to myself, like, thank God I get to see this to remind myself to slow down.
Right. Right.
But, like, at the same time, like, those people, you know, their day's ruined. Their
Right.
car might be a little broken. But I'm like, thank God for the other people who messed up, so I get reminded not to.
Right. Get reminded not to be an asshole is what he's saying.
Basically what I'm trying to say.
I don't know if you know this about the Reggies, but sometimes we need those reminders to not be assholes.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, yeah.
The Reggie is silent, ladies and gentlemen. Because I need
Definitely.
this reminder.
Definitely need those reminders too.
24/7, and that definitely qualifies and is a perfect inadvertent thought because there's so many times that the world will throw you signs that you don't pick up on, and for something so coincidental to happen is kind of in a sense not letting their accident happen in vain. You know what I
Right,
mean?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
It's a dumb way to put it, but
Yeah.
learn from that. Let me slow down.
Yeah.
It's always, listen, once again, I'm coming to a realization in myself, just like the internal monologue. Maybe I see them and ignore them. You know what I mean? Just because I'm stuck in my ways. Because a lot of things are right in front of your face, and it's like you don't want to see it. I'm not worried about it right now. I'll see it when it's important. But sometimes it's not important till, like Nate said, you're already in a fucking ditch.
Mm.
So I'm glad you had that inadvertent thought.
Right.
I'm going to try to absorb and retain that information as well as my internal monologue. And we'll see.
I have to say I'm a fan of your internal monologue your monologue that should be internal. That's usually what I find entertaining about you.
I entertain myself sometimes.
I'm sure. I've seen it. I mean, things happen. I don't know what to say about that.
That is hilarious. I'll say
Hey,
that, though.
hey, turn off the sound on your phone.
Oh, I'm sorry. You never know. These could be hot takes, ladies and gentlemen. I got people, and apparently it may be one.
Oh, what is it? What do you got?
Let's see.
Somebody texting you?
Definitely.
Share it with the class.
Definitely saw
Right.
that.
If your shit goes off during
have
the
to.
show, you have to
Have to.
read it out loud.
And you know what's funny?
So share with the class.
If you're out there, young two-time junior, I did see that. And what it is for people who follow boxing, there's a boxer who's actually from Ohio, Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken, Adrian Broner, had a very, I feel like I'm muted. Am I in there?
You're good.
No?
You're good.
Had a very good career in the beginning. He was said to be Floyd Mayweather's protege. Then kind of derailed socially and in the sport. Kind of lost his momentum, I would say, and hasn't been doing well both socially and in the sport.
Okay.
Some have even gone to say that he's not doing well financially. Just released a Twitter, I think it was Twitter. It may have been an Instagram post.
Cliff's favorite platform, by the way,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, Twitter.
I'm a master at this Twitter.
Are
And
you?
this master just learned about posting videos.
That's true.
I
He
can't-
did.
I don't know enough about it to know if this is Twitter or Instagram. Let me tell you that. But what Adrian Broner said is, listen, man, give me 20 million and I'll make 135 pounds and knock Devin Haney the fuck out.
Ooh.
Now, for those who don't know, Devin Haney is a young up-and-comer. I believe he's only 20 years old. He's a champion. And, well, I guess he's a champion. He may not even be anymore. But he's who everybody wants. He wants everybody. Everybody wants him. He's said to be the future of the sport, all that in that weight class. So I understand why he wants this cash grab, of course. Question is, who would pay you $20 million?
And now you have another one to share with the class.
That was set up.
Good. Go ahead, silence that phone.
Silence your phone,
Let's do
motherfucker.
that. Okay. Let's do that. Well, Adrian Broner first. Let's do that. The second one might be a segue.
Oh, might it?
It might be perfect timing.
What do you got?
We'll get to that. Adrian Broner, though, he's. Listen,
See,
I
you're
love
talking
him.
boxing, and that's just I don't
Right.
follow it enough.
That's why I'm gonna end it quick. I love him, but you look clownish right now. I just, it's rough to watch. It's like a car coming, and you know that you're about to collide,
Gotcha.
and it's like I don't. But the promoter, Eddie Hearn, posts up under it, forget 20 and you aren't making 135, but if you want to talk, Adrian Broner, my man, real Devin Haney said name your weight, he's ready to go. So that may be a fight in the potential future for those of you who are boxing aficionados. That's definitely one to see. That's a good step up for him, for both of them, and I'd say a good comeback for AB, although we know he's a journeyman by now. So moving on, though.
What's your segue? What do you got?
The segue. The second message I received.
Share it with the class.
Just an invite to one of our said topics of the evening. The John Jones Dominic Reyes fight.
Do you want to go ahead and jump into Jones and Reyes? I mean, my whole thing, I'm always for John Jones to catch a thief. So, man, I tell you what, like, I know that especially with us doing this show now, I need to kind of catch back up on UFC.
Listen,
I mean, but the flip side of that is even back when I was heavy into it in 2009 through like 2011, 2012. So John Jones still doing
Still
this
reigning.
about a decade later.
Still reigning. John Jones is almost disrespected somebody. I was about to say John Jones is the Manny Pacquiao of UFC. And I only mean that in the sense of reigning for decades. Not in
Fair.
the sense
I got you.
of morality or kind of person. We all know Manny Pacquiao is a fucking saint. John Jones is in recovery. I get it. And when I say recovery, I mean recovery from career. We all know the social issues that's been going on with John Jones. And we haven't heard anything from him in a while, which I commend and I love. Always been a fan. But what I will say is, Adesanya, I don't know if you saw that, said he would move up to whatever.
Oh,
weight
yeah.
John Jones is at.
He basically called him out and said, I'll see you at. He said heavyweight, which would be jumping up two classes for
John
him, wouldn't
Jones
it?
is right below heavyweight, I believe. I believe he's actually light heavy.
Light heavy, right?
Yeah.
That's
But
205.
Adesanya, yes, it would be 2 weight classes.
Because
for him.
he's a middle, welter or middle. I always get those two mixed up.
What is he at? I don't know I know welter's before middle, but
So he's middleweight then, I think. But I know what you mean. Like
yeah,
he's calling him out, and
right.
I mean,
and it's the second pass the torch situation that we might be able to see in the UFC. The first was Adesanya and Brazilian Anderson Silva.
Oh, Silva, yeah.
Which was a great fight. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you look it up. You can see it on YouTube. I don't know if I could say that. Can I say that? Yeah, it's on
why
YouTube.
not?
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, we're on
You can look it
YouTube,
up
so
on YouTube.
It's a fact.
Probably shouldn't be on YouTube, but it's there. Look it up.
you could. I mean, at this point, yeah.
Right. It's been a while.
I mean, as long as you're basically past a week after the fight,
Right.
it all
That's
ends
the
up
truth.
there anyway.
Everybody, yeah, that's the truth. But if you haven't seen it, watch it. But as for the John Jones Dominic Reyes, what I will say is I'm not very familiar with Dominic Reyes. I did.
So you're saying pass the torch between Jones and
Adesanya.
Alessandro.
Now, what I will say is the exact same thing that Adesanya said in his interview with ESPN. John Jones better not be looking past Dominic Reyes to him, because he will have a problem on his hands if he thinks Dominic Reyes is a joke. I haven't seen enough of him, but I've seen enough to know he's a real life threat at that division.
Reyes?
Undefeated, 13-0. I believe the best.
Only a year or two younger than Jones, though. Like, he's about the same age,
Is he in age?
and just
No.
Jones has had twice as many fights and twice as many knockouts,
Listen,
basically.
and he's made for this. He's made for it. But what I will say is, and I guess you can't even compare, because Dominic Reyes' best win.
I was looking through his wins.
Chris Weidman.
He doesn't really have that many quality wins. Like, I'm trying to figure out how he's the 4th ranked contender, and that was the thing. Like, because I knew you wanted to talk about this today, I was trying to go back and see if they had any really common opponents, and they really haven't.
Yeah, Chris Weidman's probably the most well-known fighter that he's fought. But that was a vicious knockout. What I will say is, just from watching him, he seems to be just awkward enough and have just enough power to catch you off guard. It's just the way he moves is, it's not what you would expect. The punches that come, you wouldn't expect to have power on them the way he throws them, but he puts people down. So it's clear that he's punching through you, even though it doesn't look like he's putting power on those punches. And that is why I say if he comes in underestimating this man, it might be an early evening. Now, John Jones is good enough to take that. I would say 10 out of 10 times, but let's be real. This man's undefeated as well. There's always a shot. In fight sports, it only takes one shot to end the night.
Well, it definitely only takes one shot. I think the thing that gets interesting when you start getting into this, though, is that if you look at, I think what's interesting about these two guys in particular is that a number of matches that go to a decision is low.
Right, for both
Like
of them.
they both want to finish the fight.
Right.
Which honestly, that was a big part of the reason why I stopped watching UFC there for a while. Is that it felt like every fight was going to a decision, which is not why I tune in. And
well, I mean, but that, see, the thing about it is, and excuse me, that speaks to the advancement of the sport. Usually when a fight ends early or doesn't go to the decision, you have to understand with UFC, it's only 3 rounds. So, now granted, it's 5-minute rounds.
I thought title fights went 5 rounds.
Correct. But nonetheless, in a average 3-round fight, because average person isn't fighting in a title match, it's not a whole lot of time. You let's put it like this: the average fight only lasts 45 seconds, 60 seconds. The average street fight.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? No, they're 3-minute rounds, aren't they?
So for professionals, it's not enough time to really show what you're doing if you're fighting someone comparable.
True. I hear you.
In a boxing match, you're going 12 rounds. So the idea is, even if you're comparable, eventually one of you will show a chink in your armor when it comes to conditioning, defense. Your arms get heavy after throwing so many punches. Eventually someone's going to fall off and you're going to see someone pull away. But in the UFC, with it only being 3 rounds, it's not enough time to really break someone down so much. I can't speak to it personally. I can speak to the boxing portion, but I don't know. Rolling around, someone laying on you, I understand that's exerting a lot.
It does take a lot. I mean, I wrestled
but there's also room to rest as well.
It can be. I think the difference is that when you start getting into that, and the thing is you're not resting. Like, you have to be able to put up your guard. You have to be able to keep him from being able to get to a position where he's full
definitely.
mount and those kind of things. Like, that takes a lot more energy than I think people realize.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I've wrestled and all that, and I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm just saying there's room to rest. If I know that I'm overpowering you on the ground and I put my body weight on you, I definitely have time to catch my breath. Now, when you're constantly moving in a ring, you don't have time to catch your breath, so it...
Right, like you can't back a guy into a corner
and lay on them, for long enough to get enough wind to continue. So it's usually a steady go of things until one of us dies out. Like I said, with a 3-round, 5-minute fight and room to rest, I don't feel like there's enough time for someone to be dragged out into deep water, is all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with 2 professionals, like you said, you don't watch it for it to go the full length of time. But if you're not dragging me out into deep water where I feel like it's a hazard for me, then I'm gonna make it the 3 rounds every time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, but I think that's my whole point with all of this, though, right? Is that Reyes and Jones, nobody wants to go to the distance there. They're both trying to finish the fight. Like, they both have a hell of a percentage of their fights end in knockouts or submissions.
And the funny thing about
the decisions are like 10 to 15% of their fights.
Right. But in the funny thing about it is, I wouldn't be surprised if this fight goes to a decision.
Goes to the decision
I
exactly
wouldn't be
for that
surprised
reason,
I
right?
wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, you're dealing with technicians here. These aren't bangers. Like, styles always make fights.
Right.
You could find somebody that was 50th in rank make a good fight with a number 1 guy, as opposed to a number 1 fight and a number 4 fight being a great fight, because they made it to 1 and 4 for a reason. They're technicians. So I'm not going to make a mistake. You're not going to make a mistake. We're going to have a stalemate.
Right.
And if the fight's only 3 to 5 rounds, when are we going to drag that man? When are you going to get tired? That has to be the deciding factor. And in boxing, you have that deciding factor.
Right.
In UFC, even in a 5-minute championship fight, you usually see them go the distance, because both of them are good enough to be there.
Well, they're good enough to hold each other at bay, and you don't
Exactly.
necessarily see somebody to kind of put themselves at risk. And honestly, again, that goes back to why I stopped watching in the early 2000s. I'll get into the money side of this, but I stopped watching because I got tired of watching $50 freaking pay-per-view fights that ended in decisions because guys were too afraid to go after one another.
You know what I loved is, and that's exactly what happened. And then Dana White was a genius, and he brought in, I don't even want to give it to Dana White because I'm sure somebody else was in his ear telling him to do it. But when he brought,
but he's a smart dude. Don't get me wrong.
The women's division into UFC, it mixed everything up, and it felt like it sparked everything, because it was like the women's fights were better than the men's fights. So the men were kind of standing there like, the women are winning fight of the night, and I'm just sitting here not collecting
Well, one
money.
of the things that happened was you finally had, I mean, that was the rise of Ronda, right? Like,
right.
She was a big part of that, and she's not the only one, and I'm blanking on, Cyborg and everybody else. But that was
Back then it was Ronda, Misha Tate, Kat Zingano,
which is actually an interesting point.
Holly Holm.
Isn't this basically, aren't they billing this as a co-main event with the women's featherweight Shevchenko
right.
and I'm blanking on her name, and I looked it up and
I know it too.
all of that.
Doesn't matter though.
Caitlyn, it looks like Chukagan.
I think you might be right.
It's something like that.
Yeah, but nonetheless, excuse me. I mean, I don't care. Co-main event. You have to make it a co-main event because it's not a good card.
Just overall,
it's just not a good card. Like I mean, me myself, I'm not paying for it.
Right.
And there was a specific time, even though I'm a more boxing heavy than MMA heavy guy, but there was a specific time where I wasn't watching boxing and I was watching MMA. This is around the time, I believe, you had the TJ Dillashaws as champion of. He had just taken the belt from Henan Brower.
Hey, you got me, dude.
Can't remember, but this is back, I would say around 2013, 2014, around those times. I was definitely heavy into it, kept track of it, but then I guess, I don't know what it is, maybe it's like you said, I fell off because it wasn't entertaining to me. It felt like, you know what it is? You know what I think it is? And you said it, you don't want to get into the money part of it. But what I think it is that they don't get paid enough.
Oh, definitely. Like, you look at the payouts on boxing versus the UFC, give me a break.
So let's be real. If I'm not going to get paid a fifth, an eighth of what a boxer is making, I'm not going to go in there and take that much damage.
Oh, no doubt.
So instead of practicing my boxing, I'm going to practice my jiu-jitsu. I'm going to practice my wrestling. We'll make this a boring lay-on-me match.
Right.
For 3 rounds.
To protect ourselves.
And I'll choke you out.
I got no
in the
reason
third.
to go out.
Exactly.
So I think, I hear you. I think, want to give a quick shout out to one of my former head coaches, Mr. Jason, out in the chat. Jason, is giving us a shout out and talking about Jones, Shevchenko, ML, parlay, take it to the bank. Cliff's making his bets right now.
Listen,
He said Jones worth the $50, greatest of all time. Too many cards and they're diluted. Cards used to be stacked, and I completely agree.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong.
That's 100%.
If Dana wants to take the take, I feel like he's done a lot, which is follow. Wait. Which is follow Vince McMahon in terms of how Vince McMahon has run the WWE and kind of the things he's done. I'll tell you what. If the UFC had a $15 app per month that I could get all of the pay-per-views and all of the library of footage and all that, I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. But I'm so sick, and I probably will never pay another $50 to see a fight. Like, that's part of the reason why I fell off is that they've got 2 or 3 cards, it seems like a month, that they're charging like $20 to $50 to see. And like, if you're going to go out to the bars and see it, that's one thing. I'm old. I don't want to go out to the bars.
Do they not show them on DAZN?
Well, it depends on what it is. Some of these big which is
to give them some credit,
right? But they're still asking you for the biggest fights of the year. Right. They're asking you to pay $50.
You're right.
Multiple times a month, it seems like, to watch the fight. Correct. And you know what? Again, that's part of the reason why I fell off was because I paid that $50 3 or 4 times, and I saw weak ass decisions made, and I saw nobody going after it. No, I got tired of watching it.
And I don't get me wrong, I side with the fighter. I'll always side with the fighter. Oh, absolutely. Because I haven't been there. I've been there enough to know what it's like. I've trained. I know it's not worth taking that punishment if you're not going to get paid. And if this is supposed to be the big stage for me, and there's still a chance that I may need to fight again to support my family, then I'm not getting paid enough.
Agreed.
Especially when there's a chance that not only could I be concussed or whatever the case may be, you could pull my arm from my socket, you could break my elbow, you could twist my knee. Any fight you go into in the UFC could be your last fight. And I'm not saying that that's not the case for boxing, because rest in peace to the, 3-4 lost in the past 6 months.
Well, and I'd even go beyond. I mean, I do think that for the most part, UFC versus boxing and mixed martial arts in general, they take care of their fighters more than boxing. I definitely agree. I think you take less overall damage because they're so quick to stop fights.
Exactly. And what another thing that I heard was
and the weight of the gloves, even, right? Like just pure physics.
Well, the gloves, they're not really going to make a difference to your head. The gloves are always for your hands.
I hear you. All right.
Because you're going to exert the same amount of power with a 16-ounce glove as with my bare fist. It's just a matter of the impact of my hand. I'm going to be able to throw more if I have a glove on than if I'm doing it with my fist.
All right. I hear you.
But I guess what it comes down to is at least what I've heard. And it's do fools agree, so needless to say, you're dealing with fools here. But what makes MMA safer is the fact that they don't stop you when you're knocked down. So when I knock you down and I continue on top of you, it looks brutal, but you're just out one time.
But it's done. You don't have a chance to get up.
In boxing, I get concussed. I have 8 seconds to get back up. And every fighter is going to get back up. Unless there is no way you can get back up, every fighter's it doesn't matter if you can't take one more punch. You're going to get back up.
And then you're going to take a knockout punch.
Exactly.
Right.
And you have that in your mind that if I get hit one more good time, it's going to be a problem. But it's not going to stop you from getting back up.
Well, that's
what you were trained to do. I would be looked at as the biggest chump, censoring my words, if I chose to stay down knowing I even had a little bit left in me.
Which is the problem, because if you look at, high school football coach here, guess what? You even mentioned the word concussion, and you're out for 2 weeks.
Right.
Guess what? If you've been hit hard enough in the head to fall down, you've got a concussion. No. And then when you get back up, guess what? You're making it worse. So that's where, like...
You're probably concussed in sparring.
Oh, no
before
doubt, no
you
doubt,
even
no doubt.
get to the fight. That's why,
Especially
you
the way they
slow up.
define concussions today.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Like back in your and I's day, it used to be, oh, I got my bell rung. That's
Right.
a concussion today.
Is it really?
Oh, dude. Yeah, as soon as you basically say you have a headache, you're getting pulled from practice and from games and all. Yeah, nah, man. Like, and to be fair,
But you know what?
that's all coming off of the CTE and everything else, and the NFL has done a terrible
crazy,
job of kind of remarketing that, but it's the truth. Like,
You know what's crazy,
and
though?
kids need to be protected, and I get it, but
Fuck
in my
all that
day,
shit.
in my day, it was I got my bell rung, shit happens, let's go.
I'm not a football coach. Fuck all that shit. Kids protected. All I'm saying is, how the fuck do you have headaches if you don't hit anymore?
That's true too.
You don't hit.
We basically wear full pads maybe once a week, maybe.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's all shoulder pads and uppers, man.
We wore full pads even when it was a no contact practice.
I hear you.
Yeah, get you used to it.
Period. It's like we baby these children today and then wonder why injuries are increasing. There were less injuries when the sport was more brutal.
Because you weed out the weak. Now the weak have a chance to stick around.
And that might be the case. That might be exactly what it is. But it's ridiculous to see. It's
I think we've stunned Mr. Jennings again.
It's
hey,
not even a stun. We're 2 years from cheerleading. We're 2 years from giving them pom-poms and helmets.
well, quarterbacks are already like that. Again, as a defensive line coach, you're not allowed to hit quarterbacks.
In the game, in practice, red shirt them here. When do I get to touch this man?
You're not allowed to touch him anymore.
Pause. When do I get...
Wait. Mr. Jennings just asked when he got to touch a
tried-
man,
listen,
right?
tried to
Everybody
touch
heard
him.
that, right?
Pause. But honestly, when do I get to hurt him? And that's... Hopefully he plays for Ohio State. Because we can guarantee you're going to run 2 out of the 4 downs.
Hey,
And I'm going to get to touch you.
all right. I just want to give a quick shout back to Jason in the chat because he's chiming in.
Ooh.
McGregor, Jones, DC, Masvidal, the only guys that I'll pay for.
Correct.
Couldn't agree more that there are
Correct.
too many, and more often than not, they're not the best fights are the ones you don't expect to be. So the best fights are the ones you don't expect them to be.
Correct.
Knock on wood, the UFC's never had a man die in the octagon. Stoppages and tapping make it safer than the
Right.
standing 8-count boxing. Kind of the
Right.
same thing that we were getting into.
Right.
And then he's just laughing at, I'm not a football coach. Fuck all that shit.
Protecting kids?
Hey, man, I tell you what.
How are we protecting kids when we got them in cages right now? We're worried about them on the football field? Like, honestly, though. Honestly. Like, we started as a joke.
I thought you wanted to stay away from politics a little
We
more.
started as a joke.
Immigration law.
Right.
Football talk.
Listen, I'm just saying. You're worried about the kids with a headache. Oh, you got a headache. I've actually been said that by, you have a headache.
You have a headache?
Oh.
Right. Oh, yeah. You're not allowed to do that anymore. I'm just telling you.
This world.
I
man.
feel bad for our athletic trainers because
This
they're the
world.
ones that have to sign off on all this stuff. And, as soon as it gets diagnosed as a potential concussion, you cannot return to play until you have a doctor's note.
I remember them telling us to keep your mouth shut. If you want to play,
Right.
keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Nowadays, that's a liability issue, and you would get sued.
Now, nowadays, what you gotta do, go to your friend's mom who's a nurse
Right.
and be like, give me that doctor's note so I could go back to
Right.
practice.
Right.
No doubt.
Right. That's just. It's just. We're 2 years from pom poms.
I mean, this goes back to, I think we've talked about this. I think. I don't know if we've talked about it on the show. You and I have definitely talked about it. I mean, we're weak.
What I will
It's
listen.
the weakening of society. We're not tough anymore.
That's the honest to God truth, because I thought that was a part of the pay.
That's part of
Risk of
playing the
concussion, risk of CTE, risk of injury. One thing they teach you when you box is anytime you step in the ring could be the end of your life.
It could be.
Anytime,
All it takes is one thing to go wrong.
Anytime could be. So if that's how it has to be something you want to do.
Yeah.
You can't put somebody that doesn't want to do that in that situation. That's what you get paid for, ladies and gentlemen. That's why they pay entertainers more than they pay doctors.
Well, I agree for the people that are getting paid for it. They know what the risks are.
Well, see, that's the thing.
I think that's the difference, though. We're talking about this conversation started with high school kids.
You have to make it there, though.
Like I hear you.
Said, that's the weeding of the wheat process. Listen, I remember going to football games on Saturdays, hitting all day, bringing the kids from football back to my dad's, practicing more with pads, and then sparring afterwards. That was a normal. Now, did I have listen, I had a headache by 2 p.m.
I'm sure.
They didn't until 10.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wanted to figure out why Cliff is the way he is, you're finding out right now here on Do Fools Agree.
Maybe. But I'm saying, though, let's be
live on the YouTubes.
Let's be 100. And I don't want to be insensitive here, but I know I'm not perfect, let's be honest, but nothing's stopping me from doing anything that anybody else is doing, regardless. I can't make an excuse and say if I chose to hurt someone, it was because I took hits to the head all my life. Now, I'm not saying that people aren't in that position, and once again, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but what I'm saying is if you weeded out the weak, like you said, maybe you wouldn't have this happening so much.
Agreed.
They even said, once again, I'm a fool. I'm not a doctor.
It's true.
But
we are both fools.
For CTE, you have to have a gene for it to even go that way.
And
like I said,
I don't know that I've seen that.
But what I will say, what's Ray Lewis doing?
I hear you.
I don't know what's John Lynch doing.
Right.
Palomalu. These are the hardest hitters that the
game
NFL's
seen in the last decade. Yeah.
And you don't see an ounce of slur because the weak were weeded out. Those guys weren't.
Right.
You didn't have to worry about that with them. And now we have a situation where it's all inclusive. It shouldn't be.
So, but I do think that this comes back to, I think, changes of the last decade, and so maybe it's not Palomalu and Lewis, but I think there are differences in the way that we teach tackling now versus 5 or 6 years ago.
Right.
That I think does a better job of protecting. And honestly,
I think so too.
That's one of my big things about. I think the biggest failure of the NFL during the whole CTE drama was the fact that they weren't highlighting the different ways that they were teaching young people to tackle.
Right.
And I tell you what, I'm certified in heads up tackling, which, whatever. And I teach rugby style tackling to my players. And so what it does is it takes your head out of the equation. So you can deliver the blow without knocking yourself out. And honestly,
equation.
And you and I were both taught, put your face mask in his chest. Right. And at the end of the day, guess what? That's what causes concussions and shit like that. Like, more often than not, it's not the dude who's getting hit that gets the concussion. It's the guy that's delivering the blow that's getting the concussion in football. Yes, it is.
Excuse me.
The guys that have broken their necks on the field and needed to be carted off the field, more often than not, are the ones delivering the blow, not the ones taking the blow.
I have had 2 spinal injuries from delivering blows. But what I will say is if you're doing it right, it's like the perfect punch. You don't feel the impact. You
I
just
hear you
go
on that.
through, and it's like, oh, he's down. You don't feel any head or any. You don't feel a jolt. It feels like running through a waterfall.
Right.
If you're doing it right. The thing is, are you doing it right? And like you said, when we came, they didn't know. It was no certified in tackling. They weren't certified. We used to count our scars on our helmets from how many times we didn't hit somebody's face mask with the top of our shit and scrape the helmet up.
Right. I mean, we used to call those battle scars.
Whoever had the most of them got
Whoever
stickers.
had more of the other team's paint on their helmet. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Man.
That was actually a bigger deal in college, like especially playing defensive line, like because I got offensive lines chunks taken out of the top of my, but it was out of the top of my helmet because I was lower than they were,
right.
Which is what you're supposed to be
right.
as a defensive lineman.
All right.
So Jason chiming in the chat again. CT's real. Watch the Hernandez doc on Netflix? ? Haven't had the chance yet. But I've heard it's good.
I'm not
the
saying
Fools
it's not.
podcast, so I can comment even though I haven't watched it yet.
Right.
You know what? Jason would actually be a great one to have on the show.
We need to have him.
So,
you took the words out of my mouth.
He's got some little. I mean, the problem is that he's in the same boat as to why I started this podcast, which is I don't know that he can leave the house on a Friday.
Right. And we're not quite mobile yet.
I mean, we're not that far from mobile. As long as I got Wi-Fi, I can pretty much set this shit up anywhere.
We might have to get a van.
We'll get it going.
We won't have any locks on it or anything.
Couple of black cases.
But we'll load this up in a van and just pull up on people like the
Pow! Podcast.
Right? Just like that. Just like that.
That P popped there though, so I'm sorry about that. I gotta get some pop filters for the microphone.
I've had 2 so far, so I apologize as well. But what I want to say, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying CT is not real. I'm just saying, once again.
You said that it had to have a special gene to have.
No, I'm just saying. No,
that's
and
what you said.
I said that's what I've heard, and I'm a fool. I prefaced it with this may or may not be true. But what I will say is maybe Aaron Hernandez was one of the weak ones. It doesn't matter if you're big.
I hear
big
you.
That doesn't mean that you. First of all, you're a tight end as well, guy.
Guy,
you're a big finesse position.
Would be the appropriate, but
maybe he's still
maybe he's reincarnated. It goes back to number 1.
Nonetheless,
the first week.
You're a finesse position. You wore gloves when you played, guy. That means you weren't just out there a monster. You know what I mean?
So did you wear gloves when you played though?
No. I didn't wear gloves. I didn't wear arm pads. I didn't wear anything.
I wore fingerless ones.
I wore nothing at all. Nothing.
Oh man.
But nonetheless, he wasn't a position designed to continuously hit over and over and over again.
Right. I hear you.
So how you anyway? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You must not have been the Ray Lewis or John Lynch or Palomalu if you weren't in a position designed to hit, and you of all people. How are we even blaming this on? It may not even have been that.
Right.
Because he lived a lifestyle long before football.
Yeah.
Let's be 100 about that.
Long before football?
Listen, you don't. Well, let me ask you.
He had to have been playing football pretty much his whole life to get to that point, though.
Right, but long before football, when it mattered, ladies and gentlemen. But you don't
hear the difference now. Wait. Can you do me a favor? Can you go back to the mic right there?
I told you because I'm looking, and I apologize. I apologize to Nate because I said this was gonna work right here because I'm talking to both of you. But I still find myself looking over here. Maybe I'm
gonna be curious to see what this sounds like on the playback, just to see, because this is our first time using our studio mics in the podcast.
Oh, okay.
And your first time having a third,
right?
Being here in the podcast.
I mean, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. I almost forgot Nate was over there, man.
Well, the UFC fighting, that's not my big. Like,
I hear you.
Not my cup of tea.
I'm just throwing. I'm just okay. So I'm done. I'm done with the CTE. I'm done with all that. But what I will say, the last point I was gonna make is you don't join a gang when you find out you may have a prominent football career.
True.
You did that before you found out you had a prominent football career.
Before you realized you'd get there.
Which is why I say you were involved in things long before football. And I don't mean at Pop Warner.
Right.
I mean actual football.
I hear you.
So let's not just automatically blame it because he's a beloved patriot on it could have just been he was a piece of shit.
Right. No doubt.
It could have just been that.
Completely agree.
But we always have to come to a conclusion, and the best conclusion is that that Jamie Foxx movie just came out. Let's categorize it under that right there. What that Jamie Foxx? Wasn't he the doctor? The African dude that...
Wasn't that Will Smith? Are you talking about Concussion?
That's Will Smith.
I mean, I know some people think all y'all look alike. I don't.
You beat me. You fucking beat me to it again.
And that's why my friend Fools agree.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Beat me to it. That was Will Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
I was trying to hold in my last
That was Will fucking Smith.
You fool.
God, man, you right.
And guess what? Fools do agree. All right. Let's see. Jason did chime in one more time. He said, sign me up. Hopefully that was in regards to getting him to come on the show sometime.
I hope so, too.
And he said the studio mics sound great, so that's good. Glad to hear it.
He's a help.
Sounds he is, right? Nobody else gives us any other...
sounds like he's on the production team.
He is. We'll have to... I mean, right there, he could come in. He could... we might have to have him manage the chat.
Listen. He sounds like he's
Jason, anytime you want to come on, man, you're more than welcome. We do this every Friday night except for next week. Next week we will be off. But, I mean, for the foreseeable future.
What's happening next week? Why won't you be doing your show?
Yeah, how about we get into that? We have time.
I mean, it's Valentine's Day.
I know that's right. And Mike is a
and
very
I'm married.
white type motherfucker. He the smoothest you ever did see.
Well, and in fairness, I didn't plan.
In fair what, Barry? What, Barry?
Oh man.
Come on, Barry.
No, honestly I didn't schedule it. My wife scheduled a trip for the three of us.
Oh, so she's Barry White.
Oh.
Wait, did you hear what I said? For the three of us, not just me and my wife.
Okay.
We're going up to
I thought she was about
Castaway Bay or whatever or something.
I thought she was about
Andrew
to
can go play.
baritone your panties off.
Easy now. Oh man! And on that note, you guys want to take a quick 2-minute break, hit the restroom, and then we'll be right back. But I like this. We got a good thing going here today.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I feel good about it.
All right. Well, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from our little break. Thank you for indulging us.
I feel like
What do we want to get
like
into?
that camera came back right as I was blowing this out, and I want to hit it again so you know that it was a vape and nothing crazy.
That's true. It's just a vape. You're all right.
Just want to do that.
Because you know it couldn't be anything real because my wife would kill us. Now, back in the day, the studios, the Citadel studio up here, that was it was a perpetual hot box, it seems like.
We had some partying times back in the day.
You know, back when we used to record all that stuff.
Back then, huh?
You were too young, sir. You were too young.
You might have been.
You gotta do me a favor. Tilt that mic down just a little bit.
Every time I do it.
Oh, does it dip on you?
It dips back.
That right there should be good. Just don't touch it. Is it moving?
It's moving.
It's moving? Are you sure?
Yeah.
A little bit. It is. It is. All right. I hear you. Well, tilt it down. That may actually be better than letting it be up.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Good deal. Good
or
deal.
You may have to Barry White the microphone.
Just get all.
What do you
up
mean?
on it.
How you doing, baby?
I'm gonna show this mic how it's done.
Nate's got a voice for radio, man. I tell you what, that right there, that was
I'm a
smooth.
DJ, so you know.
Okay
I can
then.
make it happen.
So do you have a DJ? You got any catchphrases or anything?
No.
Nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, hors d'oeuvres are now being served next to the bar.
Oh, yeah. You a wedding DJ? I
I'm
hear
a
you.
wedding DJ. Yeah.
All right, I got you.
You give out your contact info?
Yeah. Well, no, not really.
Okay.
You don't want to give? I mean, you can use this as a
H&H
platform.
Entertainment, H&H Event Entertainment.
There we go.
We do some rockin' weddings. We also do birthday bashes and high school graduations, proms and school dances, stuff like that.
That's what I'm talking
And
about.
if you talk to H&H Entertainment and our unofficial sponsor, Bison Botanics, that'd be a good time.
all you need is a caterer. And you
Where's
have it
Melissa
all.
when you need her? Usually
have
she's
it.
in the chat by now, but she's got nothing for us today.
It's okay.
Oh,
We
I
love
do
you
have
anyway.
to tell you. I do have to tell you. She did send me.
We love
She
you,
did.
Annie.
She did send me a text earlier.
Did she? What she say?
She sent me a text that basically says, let's see, I'm going to get the exact wording so I don't mess it up. Tell Cliff
Mm-hmm.
that
He's telling.
that I got him some of the Frank's PH hot sauce
I know that
with the
is
CBD.
Man,
Yes, sir.
stop
Yes,
it.
sir. He's giving you a hug. That's nice. That's nice.
I appreciate
We
it.
also have a bottle coming our way, so you know we're happy about that.
Who cares? Who cares about that?
As long as you get yours, I hear you.
Right.
Well, and then she's gonna be on the show in March.
I got hot sauce in my bag. Swag.
So who would have thought? Who would have thought Nate Reggie would be our first guest on the Do Fools Agree podcast,
Who would've
man?
thought?
The big man upstairs.
I didn't even know he was coming. He just kind of showed up.
Out. He saw this all playing out. It's only
I
right.
knew
This
for
is
the past week that I was gonna be the first.
Yeah, but nobody told us.
this is the perfect first guest though.
It
If
is.
there
It
could
is.
be any,
All right.
the perfect first guest, I would say.
Well, thank you.
That's my biological.
Better than some of
Yeah.
your loud ass people's.
Oh no!
We'll
Listen,
get there. Don't
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they won't be on and that I don't
Stop.
want them on. I'm just telling.
Stop it.
That was the good. It's good to have the quiet one first because we can test out all the equipment and it not be a problem.
No one said you didn't know what you were doing.
They would be
sir.
upset. I mean, some of your friends might be upset when they got in front of the camera if it wasn't perfectly positioned. Like Nate's just chill. It's good.
wouldn't that-
Yeah, man, I'm good with it.
We
Or
may
the
have
fact
to-
that he's not on the camera all the time.
we may have to
Right, I'm
scoot
good
the
with that.
mic all the way back when we get to some of my guests. 'cause-
Right.
I
It's
gotta-
going to have to be
No,
sitting back
just
like
sit there.
200 miles.
Sit there. Keep the mic back there.
Because you got some
please.
loud talkers.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
If you can deal
I
with
hear
me
you.
though, you can deal with them. So
You not wrong. You not wrong.
listen.
You one of
That's
my
all I'm
favorite
gonna
loud
say.
talkers sometimes.
Well,
and I mean, I know I could be
I
loud too,
appreciate
so
that.
don't get it twisted.
That's why we work. That is why
That's
we
true.
work.
We do a great job of bouncing off one another. So with
That's
all
it.
that, you want to get into the other topics? So we've only got 2 topics
What's
listed
that,
out tonight.
The
The big game. You want to talk about the big game?
I do
the
want to talk
recap?
about the big game.
Now, do you want to talk
First-
about the game itself?
Yeah, I do. And
You want to
first,
start off there?
Yeah, I do. And I want to start off
Yeah, I
by
do.
saying
The cheat.
you were wrong.
I know. But I also said
Listen.
said the Super Bowl was the only place, and the NFL is the only place where the team with the better defense and the better run game aren't the favorites. I acknowledge that. I see you.
All I'm saying is Garoppolo didn't walk out to the 50-yard line. He didn't move real slow and drop down to one knee like Dave Chappelle. Oh! what was that stand up? He said, "Who'd have known this would have been the white folks trip tonight?"
The white folks trip
Drop
tonight.
down to one knee. Oh!
no!
I would have died if he did it. I would have died if he did it. But he didn't. And he definitely didn't have a cap throw in his back pocket. So I had to root for Mahomes in this one. Like I said, he was going to come through. But I got a hot take, ladies and gentlemen. This may only be a hot take for me and Michael. Because we're from Buckeye Nation. You bitches better respect it.
What's your hot take?
If you think about it, the Chiefs versus the 49ers was the exact Clemson versus Ohio State game.
Which is exactly the same as the Bills versus the Texans. I mean, I'm with you. It's the exact same situation.
You're killing me.
You
here.
kick too many field goals.
You're
You don't
killing
score
me
enough
here.
touchdowns, and then you give up the lead in the second half.
Well, see, that wasn't where I was going with it.
Oh, what were you going with? Because that's what happened.
I was going with the fact that Mahomes was definitely sunshine from Remember the Titans,
Sunshine.
also known as Trevor Lawrence from Clemson.
I hear you.
Okay? And we definitely know that Bosa is the equivalent to...
Gary Bertier. I thought we were talking
like
Remember the
that.
Titans.
I like that. Chase Young.
Chase Young. I hear you.
And if Chase Young doesn't get into the backfield, Richard Sherman,
That's
Okuda,
true.
doesn't have what it takes to guard you one-on-one. Now, I'm not saying that Okuda is equivalent to Richard Sherman, because what we said last week was Richard Sherman is a zone back, or what I said.
You said he's a coverage
I
guy.
said he's not a man. I will give Okuda a little bit more props than that. He deserves more than Richard Sherman does in this situation.
I actually thought Sherman had some great open field tackles in that game, though. Like he wasn't the one that gave up any of the long game.
Yeah, he got burnt twice at the end of the game.
Was that him?
Yes, he got burnt twice. I'm
gonna have to go back and watch the tape.
You're gonna have to review the tape.
I have to watch the tape on that one.
Luckily for
Where's
us,
the tape? Somebody call up the tape. Where's our producer?
all I'm saying is if Bosa's not in that backfield, ain't no way that the 49ers DBs are going to be able to stop Pat Mahomes.
Oh,
Tyreek
no.
Hill.
Like, but that was my whole point, is that the 49ers defensive line and their linebacking core should have been enough to get pressure, and there were plenty of times where they weren't getting pressure.
Should have been. And that's it. Run the tape back to last week, folks. If
I
you
hear
haven't
you.
watched it, watch last week. I said it's going to be the battle between the Chiefs' offensive
line and the 49ers defensive line.
Come on, tech
and
team,
I don't think anybody argued with that, though. I just thought the 49ers defensive line was going to be better. And they weren't.
No. Because the defensive line consists of Nick Bosa. There's not enough noise on the other side of the line for it to be an issue if we put all of our focus on Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was the only one in the backfield that was causing issues.
I don't disagree with you, but they do have two or three other guys that should have been able to.
What's
and
their
I'm with
names?
you. I'm with you.
What's
They
their
did not.
names?
They didn't do it.
What's
they
their
didn't do it.
names?
If I can find my notes from last week.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing, though. You need notes to know their
Right.
names.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Which means you're not.
But
getting
that's
to the
also
backfield. And
because Bosa is an Ohio State guy, so he's the one that comes to mind. Sherman is somebody who was in the media a lot when the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl.
No, you're taking too much away. Bosa, you know Bosa's name because Bosa is doing shit in the NFL. You don't know the other ones' names because
they're
people are doing
That's
more.
Fair. That's fair. I'm not gonna argue with you on it.
Now Bosa, on the other hand, he's leading the NFL in some of his stats.
His brother and JJ, I think, top him in almost every category. But I hear what you're saying. He's up there. He's one of the top 5 defensive linemen.
I'm gonna say it right now.
5 to 10.
Nick shitting Joey.
That's funny because Nick had 9 sacks in the regular season and Joey had 11.
Nick shitting Joey. But Joey's also on his 3rd season.
He's got a season or 2 more, yeah, because he's older.
So,
but I hear you because this is Nick's rookie season, right?
Listen, and this is what I'm gonna say to you, and this is a very hot take, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think people said that in college. Like even our boy Shelby down in Florida said that Nick was a better defensive lineman, at least by everyone that knew them in Florida. Nick was a better defensive lineman than Joey.
Okay.
So.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't know that. But what I will say is this loss that you took, Nick, is your karma for what you did to Ohio State.
By bailing and basically saying I'm not going to stick around.
I called that. Now, I know this podcast didn't go on back then, and I'm not saying that
So there's no tape to roll back on that.
Right.
So he could be bullshitting all of us right now.
No, I got people.
I got people.
And I'm more than willing to have them on as hosts. But what I will say is I called that. It's a groin injury.
So all I can say is I did some serious damage to my groin, my hip flexor. In high school as a sophomore.
I have to.
And it followed me my entire career.
Exactly.
But I kept going. You're right.
I'm so fucking glad that you just said that, sir. But what I will say is before we get there, it's the easiest injury to fake. Absolutely nothing has to happen for you to pull a groin.
That's true.
You can get off of the couch and
and you could pull your groin. Absolutely.
Easiest injury to fake, mind you, follows you throughout your career.
Oh yeah, no, it followed me for 8 years.
Now, why the fuck did Nick Bosa look better with the 49ers than he ever did before?
Well, you know what his answer to that would be, and I would say that I believe it
Stem
because
cells.
No, listen. What I would say is that because he gave it time to rest. What I was never able to do between high school and college was give it time to rest because I was a 2-sport athlete and I was going from football into track. And guess what? Hip flexor, when you're a thrower in track, one of the most important things, right? Because it's all that twist of the hips to get the shot put out there. I tell you what, I never gave it chance to rest. I never had enough time to let it heal up.
Who was quarterback? Haskins that year?
Yeah, that would have been Haskins.
Because, see, what I'm thinking is whoever it was that was on his team was like, listen, there's a chance y'all could win the national championship, and what would that do for you?
Right.
You're going to go number 2 regardless.
Right. Because of who you are. And because your brother's in the league and because
you're not going
you've
number
already
1,
got the stats.
But you can go number 2 regardless.
Right.
Now, if you want it, and since you're hurt right now, you could just work the rest of the season towards what you're going to do in the draft. Raise your stock up. Because there's absolutely no reason why he came out doing what he did with the 49ers. He wasn't doing that in college listen. I'm not saying that he wasn't doing that in high school and leading up to, but you're also playing high school kids.
Right.
You didn't even play college like that. And you just skipped the level and came into the league doing what you did this year?
That's true.
That's your karma, Nick Bosa, for flaking out on Ohio State. And I'm not saying it was dumb. It was a genius move. I agree.
I tell you what, I bet you he's still getting paid.
Oh, he's getting paid. He's getting paid for sure. He's getting paid for sure.
even as the losing losing in the Super Bowl as a rookie. Who the fuck cares?
Wasn't he crying?
I don't care. Like, I guess what?
I'm just saying.
He may have been he may have been crying on the field. Guess what he went home and did?
Oh, he counted his bread. I'm just saying, if you were crying, you cared. You wanted the Super Bowl.
Right.
You wanted it.
Well, because how perfect would that have been to shut up all the haters that basically said you shouldn't have left? Now, I would actually argue that, to your point, if you feel that he's one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL as a rookie, he probably made the right decision.
No, I agree. I'm not saying it was a bad decision.
You're just saying karma from you could have helped Ohio State win a national title and you chose not to. I hear you. All right,
back.
That makes sense. I hear you.
You could have came back. You chose not. You declared for the grid, said, I'm not returning far before. You could have come back.
So his karma is he gets the taste.
Right.
He doesn't get the whole thing.
The taste is exactly Ohio State. Yeah, you get to come very close to things, but you don't get it. You don't get to feel it. And for that, cry your crocodile tears, Nick Bosa. Fuck. But nonetheless, it was a good game. I was very happy to see Patrick Mahomes win it. Thought he deserved it. It was now that what you were talking about. What was that, Michael, that you were saying? Spit in the face or whatever to all the people that. Now that's what Patrick Mahomes did.
Yeah.
Because everybody's talking about MVP first season. Yeah, wait till people have a read on you and you come back next year. Super Bowl second season. What's
true.
Next?
Right. What else does he need to do? Yeah. You're not wrong.
The future of the NFL. The only thing I will say he needs to do is get with Obama's speech giver, because your Super Bowl speech or whatever that was, awful. Speech game, awful. It's all right though. You got charisma.
See, I turned it off by that point. I'm old.
You got moxie, but I don't want to hear you talk. I don't want to hear it. Listen. Let me stop.
I listened to him up and through, because I listened to him when they were talking to Andy Reid right off after the game, but I didn't listen to his speech later.
It's funny because it seemed like you were good enough to win the Super Bowl, but you're still too young to talk at it. You know what I mean? Like you're still too young to develop the maturity to, and I'm not saying he did anything immature. It was just like, I don't feel it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel what you're giving me right now. Like, it was just like,
you're just talking to talk.
Like, it seemed like you were trying to mimic the LeBron Cleveland victory, and it wasn't that dynamic. It wasn't that historical. You got it.
I mean, it was historical for Kentucky, Missouri and Kansas in terms of Kentucky, that's worse than
Trump, right?
Right. Now, I'm not a big Trump fan.
He's a troll.
I'm also
what was going on.
I don't think he knew what was going on, but I also don't think it was that big of a deal. I really don't.
Not at all. Not at all.
Because if people in Kansas aren't Kansas City Chief fans, you're crazy if you don't think that's the case.
You mean to tell me that nobody is monitoring that man's Twitter?
Dude, that's part of what people have said all along, is that he does his own shit and that he doesn't have a team doing that for him.
Nope, I guarantee you.
I'm just telling you, that's what people have said the whole time, is that
I guarantee you.
If he had a team, you wouldn't see half the crazy shit that he posts.
Nope, I guarantee you they have somebody that's combing through it before they let it go through. I guarantee you when he says send, his little circle spins a little longer than because it's going to somebody else, and they're like,
we got to send that. That's right. It's good enough.
Nope, that's
good enough. Good enough.
That's gonna fail.
All right.
Come on, we know
this legit will start World War III. Maybe we shouldn't send this one.
That's gonna keep spinning. Fail. And
I actually think that's a good point.
Trump's fingers are like.
Can you imagine the shit
retry.
Can you imagine the shit that didn't make it to press from Trump on Twitter? That shit scares me.
I'm not no fool. Listen, I'm on a number 6 life path, okay?
I will tell you that.
I've been here.
Did I wait?
I've been here a few times.
Did I tell you that my mom texted me after that first show and she said, "You, me, and Cliff are all on the same path. It's fine." She did. So give your shout out to Rita real quick. She defended you in that whole thing.
I love you. Love you.
So, Mom, if you're watching out there in D.C. with Morgan this weekend, we love you. Appreciate it. Be safe. All that good
Safe
stuff.
travels. I told you. Listen.
And I love you too.
Oh,
I gotta get in on this.
there
too,
you go.
Family.
My cousin loves
true.
you as well. My cousin Nathan loves you also. We're on Apple and all that bullshit, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are.
Follow
Yes,
me and don't
we are.
follow too close, ladies and gentlemen. But what about that?
I don't know
halftime
if that's
show?
working though. That's we
It's
got to go back and
almost-
check. Is the don't follow too close because I didn't update it. So I hope that's still really your handle.
It is. It has to be.
I'm just telling you, I'm not sure
listen,
it is.
I just opened. Okay, let's end this right now.
Okay.
All right, while you do that, I want to just mention a little.
What you got?
something.
What you got?
You guys don't talk about politics yet. You got into.
No,
you're allowed. You're allowed.
we definitely
try
talk
not to.
politics.
Alright.
He's not.
I'm just not a fan of.
Well,
I myself am not a fan of politics.
I'm the one that always takes the conversation there. I'm willing to acknowledge that. It's always
But I'm
always
talking.
me that takes the conversation.
Y'all
there.
were saying you're not big fans of Trump or whatever.
Right.
I am not.
And
Cliff's more of a
why
fan
is
than
that?
I am.
If you were to say that in like 5 words, why? Can you? In 5 words?
He is a racist, misogynist piece of shit.
Ooh.
Okay.
Racist, misogynist piece
I
of
was
shit.
hoping
Yeah, that's
for
5
the
words.
wording.
That's 5 words.
I was hoping just for like a simple idiot or something.
Well, that too. I actually think he's a brilliant con man.
The only thing I don't like about him is like some of that idiocracy, if you will.
Yeah, Luke Wilson is what you're saying.
Some of that, you know, I feel like
help me. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
You don't have to
the
follow
only
up
thing
on
I don't
that.
like is he's got that like idiot vibe mixed with like the
See,
brains
no,
to put
no.
anything into action, right?
I don't-
No, but he's got brains to put things into action, right? But with like George W. Bush, you remember Bush?
Mm-hmm.
He was just a
Fool
fucking
me
idiot.
twice,
Right.
you
And that
can't
was
fool me
it.
twice.
And nobody was ever afraid or scared. Nobody ever tried to impeach him because he was just an idiot. But
'Cause
like
Trump's
after
not
his
that.
time, he's out of here.
Right.
Trump's not that though.
But
I think the difference is that, and Cliff and I talked a little bit about this on the first show. I think my problem with Trump is the fact that he seems to have emboldened some of the worst aspects of America in terms of
Correct.
white supremacy.
He's blue on
Those types
he's
of
blue on
things.
the flame.
the nationalism, no immigrants. kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that wasn't present without him, because I know it was.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
just
Obama
it
was
feels
a part
like
of that
it's
as
more.
well.
I feel like it's more amplified with him, and that's my issue. Is that I think it felt like we were making progress, and not that. And I said this with Cliff earlier. Not that when we had Obama as president that racism was gone from America. I never felt that way, but I did feel like we were making progress. And Trump feels like the rubber band effect and the snap back from that to basically taking us back 20 steps.
And
that's my personal issue with it on that regard.
this is why I hate talking politics, honestly, because I hate taking it to a race situation. But when he says things like take us back a couple steps, I always question, who are you talking about? Because we're always in the same position anyway. So it's only the people who are progressive and the others who believe themselves to be taking you back a couple. Who's coming back?
Who's the we in that step?
Right, because the people that you, and I'm not saying you.
So why don't I say? So I'll say it this way: the mainstream media. Mainstream media, I felt like we had started to make progress, and you weren't seeing things that were overtly racist in the media anymore.
That I can definitely agree.
And that's not to
I
say
can
that it
definitely
wasn't
agree
there
with
and we
that.
just weren't covering it.
I can
Maybe it's
definitely
just
agree
that we
with that.
cover it more now, but that's part of the issue is that we're covering it more now because it's attached to Trump. Whereas we didn't even cover it, we didn't even acknowledge it, and like I feel like by covering it, by talking about it, it's emboldened it, and that goes back to I talked a little bit about the fact that my son's preschool had bomb threats and death threats as
Right.
part of that whole JCC shit, like right
Like,
after
that's
Trump
crazy.
was elected,
That's
those kind of
ridiculous.
things. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, and we got into that big time on episode 1, and guess what? We will probably get into it
Oh,
at
we
different
will.
points, especially as
you can
this is an
guarantee
election year, so we'll be back on it at some point.
You can
but-
guarantee these fingers will be all across the chalkboards of your eardrums, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you that. I will, however, warn you before we begin. This is going to be one of those nails on the chalkboard episodes.
Right.
I'll do my best to entertain as well. But
Well, and I think that's what you and I both do. I think we have enough back and forth that we can make it lighthearted and we can laugh about it and we can get intense and passionate about
Right.
it and then turn it into a joke midway through and still be okay. So it's
Right.
all good.
You know what's funny is I just noticed that instead of talking into the camera, I'm talking towards. That's
Hit
me. That's my
Nate's camera.
That's my no.
Looking at himself.
Right. That's the sociopath in me.
You're looking at
Like,
the laptop
checking
that
to
shows
see.
us
I'm
our,
looking
our
at
live
myself.
feed.
Right, and it's not. I can't even see it, ladies and gentlemen. Like I can only see the figure of me. I don't know what I look like. Like goodness, I did this last.
I mean, I tell you what, like I rarely look at the camera, but I also am fortunate enough that I've got. So for those of you that are looking at me on the live stream right now, I've got Nate right there, which just looks to the left of the camera,
Yeah.
and honestly, Cliff's right there, which is about
5 feet
So
away.
yeah, it
45
for
degrees
you,
off camera, so it's
right.
not bad.
No, I either.
Which
have
is
to be
why
here or
Cliff
here.
is never. I mean, sometimes when he gets passionate about something, he'll turn and face the camera. But
For me, it's gonna look like I'm always looking off to the left.
right, absolutely. Well, we can't win them all. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's all good.
Listen,
that's kind of where we're at.
I'm just saying.
But man, just stepping back to that Trump versus George Bush thing,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could just look at a video of Trump and laugh like I did when George Bush said that. There's a saying in Tennessee, or
Right.
maybe it's in Texas, but I think they also have it in Tennessee.
You're right.
And if you fool me once, shame on you. If you fool me, can't get fooled again.
Right. Listen.
Man, I missed that. I just want to go back to laughing at the videos
That's because
and not being afraid.
That's because Bush was a comedian. And not by his own regard. It wasn't something that he practiced.
No, he would
was
make
just
like a great.
naturally a comedian.
Right, he would make like a great guest on this show.
Trump, however, is a troll. Now, a troll's dangerous. A comedian isn't, because a comedian usually has a bit of self-deprecation in him and can laugh at himself.
Right.
A troll
Will not.
act as if he's playing dumb just to get you feeling a certain kind of way to say, you see these dumb motherfuckers here? He's not fooling anybody. He said it before he became president. I could walk out in the middle of Times Square and shoot a man right in his head. It wouldn't stop you from voting for me. That's the absolute truth.
He said it flat out.
He's not lying. What he's doing is he's prepping your minds for the more extreme shit. Because if I can say that and you still rock with me, I can start getting a little bit more and more extreme.
Well, and
it won't shock you.
And if you look historically and you wonder why people make comparisons to Hitler,
I get it. Listen, I'm not a fool. I get it. But like I said,
whoa. Not a fool.
Listen.
It depends what topic we're on.
And on that, sir, we agree.
All right.
We agree.
That was a good cheers, right there.
That was great.
We need one more camera to get the wide shot of all three couches.
Doesn't even get those cheers moments.
But, like I said, I am a fool. I'm not in that sense, though.
Okay.
The whole reason why I said I like Trump is because he brought everybody out from under the rocks they were hiding up under. And now I get to see exactly how all of you feel.
I can get that. I can respect that.
Now, there's going to come a time when all the smoke clears. And you guys aren't going to be able to crawl back under your rocks. Because you've already showed me your faces. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
So that's what people don't understand is that this whole era or trend or whatever is only going to last so long. And life will continue to go on. And what you have fucked up is that people are peeping this shit. We're in the era of putting you on Facebook. Oh, you fucked up? I'm going to put your name and your job on Facebook. But people don't understand.
Cancel culture.
Right. But it's beyond cancel culture. Because it can get dangerous. That's not safe to do. I don't care if somebody called you a nigger or whatever the case may be. That's not safe to do. Because you don't know if he had children. His children didn't call anybody anything.
Right.
Now, mind you, they probably are going to grow up to be pieces of shit just like him. Don't take that away from them, though. You can't just be posting people shit online because you don't know what the next man will do. Some people take things a lot further than the next. And some people are closer in proximity to be able to reach out and touch the next. You don't want to put somebody else in the line of fire, which is why I will never be one of those cancer culture kind of people.
Right.
Just know you can't go back under your rock, sir. Whether it was me that saw you or whether it was the rest of the world. Now you're outed.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're seeing that across even like the entertainment industry now, right? Like people that have been called out, people aren't letting them forget it. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be given a chance to keep doing what they want to do or
Do
like,
whatever.
Right. But that doesn't mean people have to buy your shit.
Right. But listen, I get it. The whole reason is do fools agree is because we can disagree.
We can disagree.
And we can still
and we can have
the
a
same
civil
love.
discourse
Right.
and still be good afterwards. Absolutely.
Now, granted, we know each other. It doesn't make it different from people that don't, though. Just because we don't disagree, that's fine. You go your way, I go mine. We don't even have to have the conversation. But if we can, we might work towards a better understanding of each other. And then it cannot be bumping heads, but working together to fix the issues that we have going on.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to happen with both of us pointing the fingers at the next, which is why I say the softest, most ignorant. You guys, I wish I could turn the camera to people when they get into politics shit. It is the funniest shit to me. Like, it's the funniest shit. None of it matters. They're both on the same side, bro.
Right.
They're
Right.
both on the same side, bro.
This goes back to our earlier
This is
talk about
WWE.
right.
And you guys are coming in your
They're all making the same money. They're all making the same money.
They're on the same
It's the
side. They're on the
Well,
same side.
I actually think it's something that Charlemagne brought up last week. I think that's why you saw shit go down with the Iowa caucus. Because you have somebody like Bernie who is not listening to anybody.
And
that's why shit all went crazy, was because guess what? He won the vote. And the Democratic Party is making sure that he's not the vote winner because he can't be controlled.
Because he's doing the Trump.
Right.
Because he's doing the Trump.
He's doing the Democratic version of the Trump.
The only difference is he's doing it now. See, Trump was a genius. He waited until the last minute to say, "Oh, I'm going off your rails." You
right.
Thought I was going, nope, I'm doing Trump shit. Fuck that. And then Trump took over, and everybody was like, Democrats and Republicans were like, "Wait, what?
The fuck it just happened?"
Bernie's like, "Listen, I may not make it to the election day. I'm doing this shit now. We're putting all our chips in now. Fuck them all." And I agree. Fuck them all. Uncle Bernie, take us home, please. At Uncle Bernie. How do I do that? Take us home, please, Uncle Bern.
Well, this goes back. I mean, our conversation of week one was, I voted for him in the primary last time, even though I told my wife I voted for Hillary. So.
I'll vote. That's the thing, though. I don't give a fuck if you're a Democrat, a Republican. I don't care if you're a unicorn. If you just have just run on some decent values. Just humanity. I'm with you.
I mean, it's humanity, and it's at this point, it's the reason why Trump won was the anti-establishment play. Because to your point,
We're all
Trump's a different warden, and he's one that is bucking the system. I don't necessarily think for the better, but the point
No, I
I
don't think
think
for the
that
better,
I think
but I
people
appreciate it.
that the swing voters who voted for him was that it was breaking the establishment and finding a way to move away from what they felt the establishment was. Now, I personally think he's a mouthpiece for the establishment, but
Right. We know he's still a puppet too. I mean,
Right.
we know that. We know that there's only so far he'll veer off the road.
Right.
He still values his own life. Is the thing.
absolutely.
Now, a person who doesn't value anything, who's really willing to stand, he's not going to just veer. He's going to yank that wheel 90 degrees. Because I don't care about me or whoever that comes. No, now we know Trump cares. He's an ego-driven person.
Oh, absolutely.
When he sees the little memes and posts with him with the baby hands and his, arms
You
in
can't
the suit
do it.
jacket. Can't say. I think that's the funniest shit in the world. I think the little hands and
Hey Cliff, it's my strong hand.
I wish somebody listen. This thing right here. I need it, little handed, like a Snapchat filter. How they put glasses on you ugly bitches. Just hands. Just hands like this. Just little tiny ones.
All right, I'm gonna reel us back in for a minute.
I was about to say we never touched on
We didn't touch on the halftime
the
show.
halftime show. Yeah.
Save the best
By
for
the way,
last.
no doubt. J-Lo, Shakira. I got nothing but love for him. For J-Lo's 50, Shakira's 43.
This is uncharted territory.
They can both still work it, and they can both still perform.
Yeah, so I didn't really get to join in on any of the football or fight talk
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not really one who follows too much into any sport of any sort. But
That's
You-
because
you
he's
know
from
I
Buffalo, and Buffalo sports aren't that good these days. Although the Bills are turning the corner.
yeah. Apparently, there's been some hype on the
Home of the
Bills.
They're
Flutie
trying.
Flakes.
Not that I'm following, but I've heard about it. But anyway, even though I missed the Super Bowl, which I'm a little sad about, honestly, I do love getting together with friends, drinking and eating good food.
Right.
True.
That's the only thing that really matters.
Funny commercials in the halftime show always catch my eye.
Right.
But I missed it this year. But I cannot miss all the memes I've seen on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, or just memes everywhere
The Shakira tongue
about
thing,
Shakira and J-Lo.
which apparently is some Lebanese
I thought that was a
adulation
tribute to her. Right, that's what I thought.
Right.
I mean, that's what I heard.
That's what again. This is all just reading Facebook, right?
Listen, or whatever it was.
I mean, whatever she wants to do is fine by me.
I dig it.
The hips don't lie video is still one of my favorite ones of all time. It's right up there with "Baby One More Time" for Britney Spears, so it's all good.
But yeah, most controversial meme I seen out there had to be one with a picture of Lizzo up top, and then a picture of J-Lo and Shakira back to back at the Super Bowl on the bottom. It's talking about how Lizzo is always half naked and considered a symbol of empowerment to women.
Right.
And then Shakira and J-Lo out there half naked, and all the comments you could see on it is what a couple of sluts, basically.
Right.
And I think it comes down to jealousy, right? That's what it has to come down to. They're not jealous of Lizzo, but they are jealous of J-Lo at 50 and Shakira at 43.
Right. These women are not in their prime age here either.
Right.
So they're going out there and they're putting out their bodies, and they've been working hard all their lives to keep them looking the way they do.
Right.
And they still want to show it off.
Right.
And Lizzo's out there, and she's got no shame over her body. And she doesn't care what anyone else thinks because she still wants to wear as little as possible.
But that's
and
the
be
thing.
As sexy as possible, same as J-Lo and Shakira did at the Super Bowl.
That's the thing, though. Lizzo isn't intimidating anybody with her showing
She
off
doesn't
her
make
body.
anyone jealous.
Right. J-Lo and Shakira got all the moms who are at home like, oh my God, they're my age.
Right.
And I
And
They
my
shouldn't be
husband's-
allowed to do that
and my
because my
husband's
husband's
gonna
staring at them.
Expect every 52-year-old woman to be able to spin
Right.
around a pole with her foot.
like, why are they trying to make people expect that out of me too?
Right, that's exactly what it is. Is the
Once again,
false expectations
it's
getting
soft
set.
shit. It's soft shit. If I'm being 100, you bitches got CTE. You're soft. You're the soft ones of the group. The J-Los and the Shakiras, they hit like Palomalu and Ray Lewis.
And I think the flip side of it is, I don't know that she was nominated for any Oscars for it, but like J-Lo, like her thing this year was Hustlers, and I don't know if you saw the movie. It was a decent movie.
No, I didn't. But
it's probably for the best because it's about strippers that got guys drunk and
that
trashed.
Makes sense,
yeah,
then.
yes, that's the whole reason behind her on the pole.
Perfect.
It's tying into what she did this year with it had to have been this year because I think it was up for. It may not have been for best picture, but it was like maybe best director or best screenplay for Hustlers.
That makes perfect sense.
Right.
Because I was wondering that too, like
why is J-Lo up on a pole?
Like I get it. You know what I mean? Like 50, 52. 52?
I think she's just 50.
So she's making a statement about her life out there.
I don't
not
think
that
there's
she's
so
making
much-
a statement about her life, but I think she's trying to tie into her brand image with Hustlers, which is up for some sort of Oscar consideration or awards consideration.
Okay.
Where if you can tie all that together, I mean, if she can get an award for that, that kind of cements her legacy, I'm sure, in her mind. Now, again, I don't remember if it's really for an Oscar, if this was for a Golden Globe or whatever it was, but like Hustlers was a good movie, and it was Oscar worthy in terms of could have been up for it if it's not up for contention. And so I think that that's one of those things that, in my mind, it was that whole brand image for J-Lo this year. And it was just tying it into like her lead actress role in that movie.
Totally
and I saw it.
makes
It was a good movie. Like, now personally, I felt attacked by the story, and because it's all about strippers that take advantage of men that come to the club and getting them drunk and wasted and charging up their credit cards.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that that's ever happened to me, but
I'm saying it's happening to me. I'm saying it's happening to me. I'll stand up. Three.
I feel like there was a bachelor party, not
Me
mine.
4. Me
Me
4.
5.
5.
I feel like that may have happened in my little brother's bachelor party. I felt like I got taken advantage of. Not in any kind of sexual way, but in a financial way.
I tell you guys, I gotta be honest. I think I only been to a strip club twice.
That's about all I've been. Well, 4,
bullshit,
3 or 4,
man.
3 or
Don't
4,
even-
3 or 4.
You've been taking advantage, and you only been there 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, because one time I was smashed, dude.
All right, fair.
The other times I was sober enough to say no. You've been there for 2 out of the 4. Why you look all quiet? Why Cliff get all quiet all of a sudden? Like he's
like,
got something.
Nate's only been in a strip club 2 or 3 times. Mike only 3 or 4 times. Am I a normal person?
I mean, his boy is we talked about him 2 weeks ago. Blue was a bouncer at one for a while, right? So
Now
I'm sure he got you into some.
Now you're just incriminating.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Not him.
Oh, okay, you.
Goodness.
Well, that I meant to do.
Well, okay. Well, let's continue this on then.
See, what had happened was
I thought
I can
worked
neither
there.
confirm nor
I
deny.
thought I worked there for. I was asking actually if they had my I-9, which prompted them to remove me from the premises only before or after I asked if I could file the stolen ones on my taxes. You shiesty hustler sons of bitches. But I've been there a lot, is what I'm getting at.
I hear you.
That's more of the story. I've been there.
Because I feel like it's not.
Know my way around a room or two.
That's true. It's not just restricted to strip clubs.
Doing that.
I've been thrown out of. Not thrown out of. I've been asked to leave 3 or 4 places.
Now, Mike,
and two
Mike,
or 3
Mike,
of the places that I've been asked to leave
Only asked
were definitely because of my friend Clifford here.
Why are we doing this? I thought we weren't doing this.
I was just gonna say they probably only asked you to leave because you were probably bigger than the bouncers, man.
Well, that's honestly that was one of the instances. He knows which one I'm talking about. It was I think back, what was it, Sky Bar, and they were like, your boy says you about to start some shit, and I'm like, I'm just sitting here drinking.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe they came for you.
They did
before they came for me.
Right. So
I was,
and I had
there.
no idea what was going on. They came for me, and I had no idea why.
Racial profiling.
That's right. I was the only white boy in the bar that night.
Right.
It was hip hop night.
They was like, this motherfucker got a K under his coat. He got a semi-automatic under his coat.
Oh,
yeah, so you can't blame that on me.
Oh, yes I can. I think I just did.
I was just there. Guilt by association, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was guilt by association with you.
That Cliff was going around telling him, you better not mess with me. My buddy over there is gonna beat you up.
That's from what I've gathered. That's exactly how it went down.
Now you know that would never be how it went down.
No doubt.
Listen,
because it's probably I'm about to fuck somebody up, and then my boy Mike's gonna jump in for me too.
And I wouldn't even. You know me, and you know me from another situation.
That's true.
I go down myself.
I don't disagree.
Okay,
yes,
nobody
will
know anything about me being in any
Shelby,
kind of trouble.
Shelby, you know what we're talking about.
Nobody needs to know anything. I'll take mine. I take my licks myself.
Yes, you do.
I have no problem with that. So, no, it would not be me, but we do know who it may have been. May have been, meaning factually. This is, but we will not name any names.
That's fair.
I won't name any names.
Right.
If Mike would like to. We ain't no snitches.
I'm not going to call anybody out except you, because you're here to defend yourself.
And on that, sir.
2 fools agree.
I'll take that.
Oh, man. So anything else we want to talk about with the Super Bowl? Nate, you got anything else you want to cover?
I don't think I got anything.
What I will say, though, and this is in defense of Lizzo and J-Lo, not so much Shakira, because you're kind of still prime. Listen, let's be honest.
Shakira is still prime.
She's still prime. 44 is the new 20. Because
isn't that a Jay-Z song? 40 is the new 20?
The new 20 doesn't know how to do it. Listen, their hips are perjury. You hear what I'm saying?
You saying they're lying?
Yeah, they're plagiarizing their hips. Whereas Shakira,
her hips don't lie.
Factual hips there.
Yeah, I mean,
amen.
Shout out Nicki Minaj ass implants.
Yeah. Shakira, perfection. Little hands, big sleeves. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. I like how that's become your tagline for the show.
Oh yeah, I'm taking that. I want Trump to come
You're taking
see
it back.
me. Come see me about it. Come say I need my little hands in my sleeves back, cause it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
But great halftime show. Commercials, were any standout commercials? Anybody? I don't know. Did you have a standout?
I mean, my problem is the ones that stand out for me these days are the emotional ones that make me a wreck, like the what was it? The
That make you
Google
what?
make me a wreck.
A wreck.
Oh,
Not a wreck.
Not a wreck.
know,
I
I
did
heard-
not
I
say
heard-
a wreck.
what kind
I
of?
wasn't sure if I
What
was
time
hearing
did
a
you
wreck
watch the
or
Super Bowl?
a
that
wreck.
makes me a wreck.
Okay.
WRECK.
Whatever you say. Which one?
Was it the Google one with the up, like, just like the Apple one with the up premise the year before, where it's
We're
like
talking about Google at halftime show, right?
we're talking about commercials, right? The Google commercial that basically it was the why am I blanking? It's dude was being told about his kids kept filming stuff, and then he found out that it was about, or no, he was talking to. Now I'm getting two commercials mixed up.
Google commercial.
Was it Google or an Alexa commercial where they're basically like, remind me of my wife, remind me of.
Oh yes.
That shit tears me up, man.
Yeah, I know exactly what you. I know exactly
That's
what
gotta
you're
be
talking
Alexa.
about.
There
Yeah.
was one that was
His
Alexa
wife-
that was like, but
Okay,
there was
He had loaded
there's a
all
Google
the
Assistant
information
one.
about her.
Right.
and she died.
Remind me about yeah.
Yeah.
And that shit just hits me hard, and I don't know why, it just does, and that's what it's designed to do.
wait,
So
wait.
but I also don't remember whether it was Google or Alexa, so obviously it didn't do its job as a commercial.
Right, clearly. I know what you're
This
talking
dude's about to buy an Alexa when it's Google that was
Are we
giving
not
him them
remembering?
pulling the heartstrings, yeah.
What are you thinking of?
Remembering the Dorito commercial where he was talking about he ain't his dad and took the Doritos? Like, where did we come where we're now talking about passed
No
away
Dorito-
wives at the Super Bowl?
Right, but the Apple did the same thing the year before with the or no, maybe it was during Christmas where it took like the picture of the they were taking pictures of or film of just general shit, and what it came back to was it reminded they played a video for the grandfather at the end, but it was basically like his dead wife. Like
I just don't understand why we always
No,
have
because
to
it's
feel
designed to
down
get-
and out. Like,
I hear
what
you.
the fuck? Like,
Well, man,
well, and that was go ahead.
I heard you drop the name of the Dorito commercial, and I gotta say, no Dorito commercial will ever compare to the the Magic 8 Ball guy. Shaking Magic 8 Ball. Am I gonna get Doritos today? And then he just throws it at a vending machine, fucking shatters the glass, and just goes and grabs his fucking Doritos. No Dorito commercial will ever compare to me.
that one. I'll remember that one.
That one in
The
Magic
one.
Fridge is the other one that always sticks with me
I'm
from a
telling you,
funny
the one that I'm
standpoint.
talking about, where it's not his dad, and he grabs the Dorito, and the boy
Smacks him.
and now we crying.
But I think that's the whole thing with the commercials. I don't remember many of them.
Like, no.
What was the
I'm
other
not-
one about,
no,
like,
hold
dusting
up,
off
time
the
out.
thing? Yeah.
Time out. I am not willing to believe that these aren't trolls on the They like all these big tough football players having football parties, Super Bowl. How we gonna make a whole room full of men cry, watch, and then just come out with Super Bowl commercial? We're just watching with a smile on our face.
You know what other one always gets me? Is the Clydesdale and the puppy.
expecting to laugh at a Super Bowl
Right,
commercial,
right.
and then and the next thing we know, we're looking at everybody else like,
I'm not crying. It's
right,
fine. It's
right.
fine.
Where are we at?
I don't know.
Where we at in this world,
I
man?
can't do it anymore.
Where we at? I just don't get it anymore.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. But all in all, it was a great Super Bowl.
I mean, it was a good halftime. Like I said, I thought it was a good
Look at
halftime
that.
show.
I missed
I
my
thought-
money shot. computer.
Oh, you're
still.
aiming at the computer, not at your
Sociopath.
camera.
Dude's just looking at
So-
himself, not the audience.
Sociopath,
Man,
B.
man.
And I can't even see. God damn.
Well,
Like, oh, there's a shadow of me over there.
All right.
right.
Whatever.
All right, man. Well, it's about that time. You got any closing thoughts? Anybody got any closing thoughts?
Well, let me just say thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Nate,
Thanks for
we
everyone who's
loved
viewing.
having you, man.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the
He's our first guest.
Oh, and thanks to anyone who stuck around for our full live version of the
look.
podcast.
He does this better than we do.
He does.
We appreciate
does
all
this
the
better
live
than we do.
viewers, but we appreciate all the viewers in general.
That's true. That's true. The live viewers are fun because they contribute to the show, though.
Yeah.
They do.
If you like the show, you should watch it live so you can comment and we'll read them off live.
See, but here's
He's a DJ.
he is.
He's a
He
DJ,
is.
ladies.
He is. So, I'm gonna do my best one now.
Mhm.
All right.
Hey, you've been watching the Do Fools Agree podcast. If you like what you've heard tonight, go ahead, give us a like, subscribe, a share, do something. You can also find us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you find your podcasts at. You can find us there as well. If you're a small business and you want to come on and talk about what you're doing, give me a shout out, foolproofentertainment@gmail.com. We are ready to get this thing moving. And so we can only do this as far as you will help us go. And so we love you. We appreciate it. Cliff, you got anything to take us out and see if you can top that motherfucker?
No, that was excellent. Let me first say I was looking in awe. Like the whole time I was looking at you like this.
I seen his jaw down.
I'm just gonna end it like I always do. Please just love each other. Just love each other.
Love you. Love
And if you
yourselves
can't
and each
love
other.
the person across from you, get away from them. But just love each other. That's it.
And that's a great way to end it. We appreciate everybody, and for everybody out in the live chat, anybody that watches us on the replay.
Love's
again,
not gay, homophobes.
Again, hit us,
I'm progressive, you sons of bitches.
hit us up on the podcast and check us out at foolproof.live if you want to chip in, give us a little donation, anything like that. But that's it, man. We're off next week. Like I said, me and the fam taking a quick vacay, but we'll be back the week after that, the 21st. So
Ooh, before that Fury fight.
that's right. So taking us out. Have a good one.